I'm good.
They'd be okay.
I know. Even like hey y'all, how y'all doing? I think the hard part is like you listen to a sermon,
Mm-hmm.
the ad comes on in the middle of like a high part, and you're like, it felt like it messed the moment up.
Yeah.
So I was like, nah, I'm good. Because YouTube determines those, right? How
Uh,
long the ads are, and they determine.
yes and no. You can have it set where you can say, only play before or after the video. But of course, you get more income if it's during
During
or midway through.
and multiple times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I figured. Hey y'all, how y'all doing?
Hey guys.
Hope everybody is well today. Um, God is good. It's Monday.
Yeah.
It is Monday, and welcome to maximizing your moment every Monday at 12 p.m. Hey Jeanette, hi my leader. How are you? Um, we'd love for you all to please share this at this time if you can. Um,
Yeah.
Still a little sleepy. I'm trying,
Still early. Still
and
early.
I know, and I've been awake. I've been up all this time too. It's just still feel like, you go back to bed. But we're here, and God is good to us. Um, so y'all come on in, and you missed yesterday's service, you can go back and watch it. Um, the Lord's doing great things, and that hate topic is real.
Yes.
And it's so interesting how dislike can move into hate if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a hard. I think sometimes we don't mix. We often overlook. How can I say this? We'll think that where there's resentment, there's no hate, but sometimes that resentment and hate kind of go hand in hand,
Yeah.
and it doesn't come across as anger or hatred. We just call it, I'm just resenting X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is a bleeding of the two. Um,
Yeah.
you can dislike somebody, but when that person controls your emotions and your thoughts, outside of their presence and those things like that, uh, those are one of the things where we need to get healed from because that person's controlling it. And what's so interesting though? You don't often reveal, it's not often seen how much control somebody has until um, something happens to you and you recognize, wow, this person still has X, Y, and Z effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
And you get older. I often say, and I didn't know this until heard somebody studies, you know, psychology and stuff. God really does. Life does really give you that window between the age of 30 and like 50 or 60 for you to deal with your childhood stuff. Um, and sometimes you'll experience something and it'll trigger a memory from years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and then you finally realize that this certain negative trait or this negative thought, this negative behavior came from that situation that you oftentimes forgot completely all about.
Yeah.
But it had such an impact on you that you didn't know how to process it at the time. And sometimes, sorry for ranting, y'all. As children, we don't know what to do with it, so we subconsciously kind of just bury it, move on. When people say kids are strong, they'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I, you know, or kids are resilient. I think your brain subconsciously finds a way to manage your trauma
Mm-hmm.
and kind of puts it somewhere where it won't drive you crazy. But the problem is it's still there.
Right. Comes out in different ways.
Yeah, so it's not, your kids may be resilient, but are they healthy though? That's the difference.
Yep.
Because the trauma mechanism of putting it away somewhere doesn't mean you're over it.
Yep.
We think because the child just kept living or because we just kept going, that was our way of, how can I say this, surviving the event. And it starts to come out over time.
Yeah.
Uh, and when it comes out, you got to deal with it quickly. I'm sorry, I was just ranting.
No,
Sorry.
no, you're right. I think resentment is definitely the tip of the iceberg. sometimes it's easy to bypass that there's a whole nother piece to it that might not be so, evident when looking at surface value of things, but is that big piece at the bottom that can really cause the damage, right? So, putting in the work to try and tackle some of those issues is a lot easier said than done.
Mhm.
But I think it's one of those things that because we all have something,
Yep.
if we want to be healthy mentally, even physically, because that can be a side effect of everything too.
Yeah.
So really see what needs to be done to start chipping things away.
Yep. Yep. So true. Hey, Helene. Hey, my lady Brenda, Holly, and Keife.
Hey guys,
What's
happy
up, y'all?
birthday, Keife.
Yeah, happy birthday, Keife. I think a lot of people. There's this iceberg example. You may see like these little memes about them, but it's so true. Like the iceberg is so much bigger below the water than it is above,
Mm-hmm.
and you know we only see this little bit of a person, but not realizing that the depth of that iceberg is so huge internally
Yep.
that you know I've been there before where I was dealing with something and I didn't know how deep it was.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just this depth, and then come to find out, oh no, you're really, really wounded. You're really, really it's deeper than you thought.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like an onion. The more you peel back, you feel like there's another layer to peel back, another layer to peel back. And self healing is important because, like you said, it's true. It starts to show up in our physical body.
Yeah.
We don't often tie stress with, physical sickness, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really real. Anxiety, constant stress, constant pressure, stress, it eats away at your body.
Yep.
And if you're not careful, a lot of sickness, we like to separate us, but what I mean by separating, like, your soul and your body and all that stuff, but you're one person, you're one unit. What makes you human is that you are a spiritual being within a body. It's all
Mm-hmm.
connected, it's all together. So if something's going on in one, it's going on it affects everything.
It does. Mm-hmm.
And how many sicknesses are born out of stress and being overwhelmed. Something I was thinking about earlier today. Yes, you can power through things, and yes, you can take it, and yeah, you can just kind of keep going. But the question is it healthy for you to do that
Right.
all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And I think last year we talked about there are times where it's okay to take a little moment and take a break. Say, let me kind of recenter real quick, get myself together.
Yeah.
You know,
Even Jesus took a rest. It's
right?
okay.
It's okay. And then do what you get up and do what you got to do. But I think a lot of, you know, of especially American culture of always pushing, and I'm not anti-work because I work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Always pushing, always going, always doing. I'm not against that, but I think other countries, like, they have siestas for a reason. They give their workers and people, here, you have X, Y, and Z time off every single day, and they found they were more productive when they gave them moments of rest.
Yeah.
And being able to find that rest, but also not use work to make up for your anger issues or we bury ourselves in work when we're frustrated and think
Yeah.
that we're okay, but you're still frustrated after.
Is denial, not wanting to face those hard things. But I think another part of this too is being able to prioritize, because when you're able to list out, the things that are important to you,
Mm.
you make the effort to treat those areas, right? And I think oftentimes we put ourselves on the very last bullet of that list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, you you're no good to people if you're not healthy enough or strong enough to do X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are times where I remember I said it before. There was a time where I overslept one day, and it was like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up and I was like, "Yo, this feels good." And I was like, "You tell me all I needed was an extra hour of sleep."
Right. Well, how about if you got two extra
Right. Right. Well, I got these kids at home now,
Uh-huh.
but I'm like, man, like, but that, I was like, all I really needed was just an extra hour of sleep, and I felt rejuvenated. I felt stronger that day. And like you said, there were times where Jesus would just get away and just go relax.
Hmm.
Um,
And didn't apologize for it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And when the people came, when they eventually found him, he went and did his work, but he ain't jump out there and volunteer until they came to find him. But I think all of this kind of melds in together where sometimes we get busy to manage our wounds rather than actually dealing with our wounds.
Hmm.
Almost acts as a cover.
Yeah.
And I think we learn to fake it and keep going, but eventually that comes back to haunt you.
Hmm.
You have to be able to take. They used to teach back in the day: take a hit and keep going. Something happened to you, take the hit, absorb it, keep moving. Problem is, you keep absorbing. It's going to take over. It's going to absorb you.
Yeah.
What we should do is take the hit, work on getting healing, and keep going.
Yeah.
The healing part's important.
There's that saying, fake it until you make it, which I can get behind, because I think sometimes you need to be able to push through things. But then it brings up that question, what if making it, whatever that is for you, just isn't what is part of your journey in the way that you think it is? So then you're left just faking it, and
Mhm.
that doesn't help or feel good either.
That's true. That is so true. And I think that's where, on what you're saying, we're not our authentic us because we're trying to live up to an expectation.
Hmm.
So we're trying to fake something that we're not.
Hmm.
And it almost feels like you're, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, I'm told you I'm tired today. What was the word? Not an imposter, but someone like, you're deceiving yourself
Hmm.
rather than learning how to be the best you that you could be.
Right.
Where you're faking it and then you start living this person that you're not to
Hmm.
try to prove a point to everybody else.
Yep.
Um, and I'm all for change and transformation. I'm not saying that, not that, but what I'm saying is learning how to find your unique identity and
Right.
learning to be okay with it.
Hmm.
Everybody's not going to be the same. We're all different. Be the best you that God created you to be within the community of people,
Yep.
rather than trying to. I was talking to somebody years ago, and I see there's an unspoken expectation that people have when they come to church, and it's not because of the church. I think it's because of our own perception. I'm talking about church in general.
Hmm.
You walk in, especially when you're new, and you think all these people got it together, and then you start feeling bad about yourself because wow, all these people, they look like they got it going on until you get to know them,
Hmm.
and you realize they're just as crazy as you are, in a process just like you, and it's like a rude awakening. Like, yo, I thought y'all were all,
Right.
we are all in a process. But I
Hmm.
say all that to say you can feel bad because there's this, you can start living into this expectation you have that's false.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense. Like there's this internal, I need to be this, and nobody ever asked you to be.
Right. I was like,
You know,
who's telling you to do this? Like,
yeah,
why are you putting that pressure on yourself?
yes. And then what we do, instead of changing, we get spiritual. Do the difference. Instead of transforming, we get spiritual.
Mm.
So we start acting like it rather than actually being it.
Hmm.
So we get on this, we pick up this saved persona rather than just living and being secure in our salvation. But it all comes from not knowing who we are and seeking to fulfill this expectation that we have put on ourselves based on our belief of what other people perceive.
Yeah.
Nobody told you, but you start assuming. I hope this all makes sense. I feel like it's a little jarring, but it's meant. It's good because May starts mental health awareness month. So yes, this is good to talk about.
No, it's true. Assumption, that's a strong word, because it's something that we all do. It can get us into so much trouble
Mhm.
for reasons that aren't even important.
Yeah. It reminds me of like when you're growing up, you don't really know who you are. So you're picking up all these different traits and different things. And, you know, uh, but it's not until you start kind of getting comfortable with yourself that you start relaxing into who you are
Mhm.
and learn to be grateful for who you are
Mhm.
and know that all of us got problems. Y'all. It's just the nature of the beast. Some wear it better than others, but everybody's got something.
Mhm.
Um,
And I think once we're able to feel that and really, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. Like, I'm at a point in my life where I don't really care about what other people are doing in terms of like their relationship with God. So I know I've had questions, well, how can you go to church with these people? That's not godly, whatever. That's between them. I'm going to love them and care for them just as I'm called to do anybody. But anything outside of that, I'm just going to focus on myself because, like you said earlier, we're all in a state of transformation, right? So, who am I to judge what someone else's journey is like?
yeah, yeah. I mean, we're all on the journey, and this is all the church is a flawed community
Hmm.
striving to be more Christ-like every single day.
And I think once you can come to that conclusion, you're able to have church more freely.
Yes, yes, because you're not worried about what everybody else is doing, and that's not to say that we love people that we don't, if we need to at times, call them to the kitchen table to like,
Right?
look,
Sometimes you gotta have the hard talks. Yeah.
yeah, what's going on isn't healthy for you. I love you, and I don't, this isn't good for you. But
Hmm.
we come from a place. What Paul says in Galatians that we restore those fallen, considering it could be ourselves. There it is. That honestly, that the person that fell, that could have been us, and quite honestly, it could be us in the future. And if we weren't honest, it was us in the past.
Hmm.
That's why we restore them with meekness and humility and with love and care, uh, because God's judgment is restorative. Throughout Scripture, you look at it, when God judges, it's restorative for the most part. He's correcting something to make it right.
Yeah.
He's judging to bring out something better. And when we start looking at judgment like that as restorative, we start understanding that God's chastisement is often restorative rather than I'm getting rid of you.
Yep.
Thank God for that. I'm trying to prune some stuff off of you so you can be who I desire for you to be.
Yeah.
But I think, we're all, what gets me about people that say that stuff? They got so much to say about everybody else until their stuff comes out.
Yep.
It's like when it's other people, they want judgment for that person. But when it's for them, I need mercy.
Yep.
It's like people digging up them old tweets and look at this person saying this, all of a sudden, one of their old tweets come out and it's like, oh, you said X, Y, and Z. Then it's like, well, I was young then. I didn't know any better. Well, give that person that same grace.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person I was when I was 20.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person I was when I was 30. The same person, but my views have grown, I've
Mhm.
matured.
But I think that's exactly the problem because people have weaponized grace and you extend it in a way where it's beneficial to you. And at its core, that's not what grace is.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the dilemmas I have again is when somebody else messes up or something comes out about the person, we're so quick to just go on a rampage on the person,
Mhm.
forgetting that we got something and that yours can come out one day too.
Yeah.
All of us got a past. And I'm not saying we can't hold people accountable, but what I am saying is how we hold them accountable is important.
Yep.
How we work with them is important because, again, the goal is restoring a brother or sister that needs or wants to be restored. But if I haven't come to grips with my own failures,
Mhm.
my own sins, my own struggles, I'll continually be harsh towards other people.
Going back to how we started this conversation with resentment, you're having that internal resentment within yourself and that displaying outward in how you're treating other people. I think a lot of times when we find ourselves in like contention with people, you really need to take a step back and think, okay, what is my role in all of this? What am I bringing to the table that is causing for this negativity?
Yeah. Because all judgment is projection. It comes from us. I
Hmm.
can't treat you any greater than I treat myself. So if I'm hypercritical of myself, I'm gonna be hypercritical of everybody else. If I beat myself up, I'm gonna beat everybody else up. I
Yep.
have no grace for myself. I won't have a lot of grace for other people. And like you said, that resentment of, it's like preachers who are very hard and condemning on others
Hmm.
usually they haven't forgiven themselves of something that they've done. So they're harsh on other people. So when they preach on sin, it's very judgmental, it's very harsh, uh, because of some internal unforgiveness they have,
Yeah.
rather than coming from a place of love, forgiveness, where I can correct with a sense of grace and mercy.
Yep.
So when we teach, when we preach, when we lead, we try to lead from a place of humility, knowing that we're flawed too. So it's not that we can't talk about a topic,
Hmm.
but love and grace teaches us how to talk about the topic in a way that helps people rather than kicks them in the back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
what gets me is like all the people in the crowd be shouting over those messages too. The preacher, because you know what this, the preacher's going off on people, and everybody in the crowd thinks they're talking about everybody else but them.
Yep.
All these people and all these church folk and all these people, and they and they shout like, yeah, yeah, because they never think about they're
Hmm.
always for somebody else. And if you're not careful, and give you a high mighty, I'm more saved than everybody else thought process. When life has a way of showing you're not as saved as you thought you were.
Yep. You find out real fast.
Jesus always taught when he corrected. Love will teach and correct, not just correct.
Right.
And because if I can't teach you a better way, what am I correcting you towards?
Yeah. And it's not about proving a point.
Talk about
It's
that because
not
we
about
love it.
proving a point. And I feel like that gets us in trouble too, because for whatever reason, like you have to be right. And I'm guilty of this too.
Mhm.
I know that I am. And it's something that we need to learn to let go. But it's not about proving a point because that takes away from everything.
Yeah. I think that sometimes comes from, how can I say this? Um, a sense of validation.
Mm.
I have to be right to validate something in me. You know,
Hmm. That makes sense.
yeah, most people don't like being failures
Hmm.
and failing, and they take it kind of hard, but it's learning not to identify with the failure.
Yeah.
It's it doesn't me being wrong about something and somebody else being right about it doesn't take anything away from me
Hmm.
if I learn from the failure what the person's saying.
Right.
You can have a discussion with somebody and find out, it's happened to me. You completely think you're right about it. Then when you talk to the other person, you're like, well, dang, I am wrong. You know, and the humility to say, you know what, I was wrong
Yes.
I've been wrong about this. This person's right about this. It doesn't take anything away from you to evolve your thought process.
Hmm.
But sometimes, like we talked about it before, sometimes it feels like losing this belief system feels like it takes something away from you. No, it doesn't take it. It just means this one area
Right.
you were wrong in, and it's okay. Uh,
You'll survive.
yeah, you're still valued. You're still, you
Yeah.
still,
You're still being heard, all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah. But and that's why pride comes in like so subtle ways,
Hmm.
and that pride will eventually lead to our destruction if we're not careful.
Yeah.
Which we all at some point in time battle with that pride.
Absolutely.
Uh, but no, I get it. I get it. It's especially I ain't gonna let this person one up with you. Just
Yeah.
Jesus says, agree with your adversary quickly. There are times when you gotta say, you know what, that's the way you feel. Okay, I ain't gonna fight you over this. If that's what you feel, fine.
Because that makes it more about you. Like, you don't have to prove yourself.
I, this is what you feel. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I love you, but we're not gonna go to war over this. All the patience nor the strength to. It's just is what it is. But I think going back to that resentment thing, and since it is Mental Health Awareness Month, maybe we can talk about it. So that resentment thing and that unforgiveness all go together. And like Bishop said yesterday, you have a right to be upset.
Yes.
But you have a right to hold on to it to the point that it hurts you. I was reading something the other day, last week, and I was taught in my class that anger is a part of the human life. It just no way around it. If you're human, you're going to be angry at times. And the Bible never tells us not to be angry. It just says don't hold on to it.
Right.
Or don't sin when you're angry. Because sin is God never in Scripture said don't ever be angry. He said be angry and sin not. You're going to get upset. But what helps us, what the author was saying, was that God gives us his kingdom to focus on. So we won't spend most of our days focused on ourselves and what angers us, or ourselves and what we want. We now focus on what God wants for us to help overcome. In order to stay angry, you have to continue to focus on it.
Yeah.
You got to see it. But the kingdom gives us another outlook where you admit you're angry, but I'm not going to focus on what made me angry. I'm going to focus on where God wants me to be.
Right. And
your focus will help you overcome that desire to stay angry. Because it's real. And it takes some work. It takes work, y'all, sometimes, depending on the infraction.
Yeah.
And I think I was talking to my wife about this yesterday. Sometimes we're angry because we're hurt. It just is what it is. You're hurt. You think you're angry when you're really hurt.
Yeah.
It's just your hurt is manifesting itself in anger. Maybe next week we can talk about that, because we're looking at the fruit, not the source.
Right.
I was talking to somebody one time. I said, you think you're angry when you're just grieving.
Yeah.
Your grief is revealing itself in anger. You're focusing on the fruit, not the root of it. You're trying to stop being angry, but what's fueling this anger? You have to be able to connect the dots.
Yeah. And I think to be able to ask yourself, okay, why is this making me, why is this hurtful to me? Because not in all cases, of course, but sometimes something that makes you angry is something that wouldn't be as big of a deal to someone else. So what is it about you that is making this hurt me, where it might not be a big deal to someone else?
Yeah. Or it wouldn't be a big deal to you if things were better.
Yep.
You're like, why? On Monday, it fell right off you. On Friday, you're like, how come this thing's making me so upset? What is wrong with me?
Yep.
It could be Monday, you were just having a better day. You felt stronger. Friday, you were tired. You were frustrated. And you were a little more sensitive. You have to know the days when you're more sensitive.
Yeah.
Because some days I'll be okay. This other day,
don't even talk to me.
Right? Everything's bothering you. And you have to learn your sensitive days and know and be aware of, I'm overly sensitive today. Some things that wouldn't normally bother me may hurt my feelings. And once you're aware of it, I think you can grow from it. But it starts with awareness.
Absolutely. I definitely need to be better at being in tune with ourselves and being aware of the outward repercussions of that.
Yep. And maybe we'll talk about that next week, so if we remember to. Because it's 12:30.
Yeah.
And we can work through that next week. Take your mental health, take it seriously. Your emotional health, take it seriously. And nothing wrong with going to talk to somebody if you have to. Nothing wrong with, praying, pastoral, whatever. But work through that stuff. All right. Any announcements?
Just the regular programming this week. We have our Focus Singles Ministry tomorrow, Tuesday at 7 p.m. Also, I don't want to forget to mention that we are back for our in-person Embrace class on Mondays at 7 p.m. So if you're in the area, definitely feel free to come out and just spend this time with us. If you are a Connections Church member, you can join online. You should be receiving an email with how to log in. Tuesday, our Focus Singles Ministry. Wednesday, we have Word Impact. And then, of course, we have On Point Radio at Saturday at 9 a.m. And then a full day of worship with our virtual service at 8 a.m. on Sunday, and then in person at 11. So great time, great time throughout the rest of this week. And then we also have ordination service that's coming up at the end of this month. You want to share a little bit more on that, Pastor Nick?
May 28th, we're having an ordination service for a few of our ministers and a few of the pastors in our fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
I think it starts at 6 o'clock on the 28th. I think it is, but you'll hear more about it soon, the days to come. So we're excited about our first ordination service.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have one the year in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID happened. So those people from that time and those people after that took during the pandemic are going to be ordained on the 28th to the ministry. So we're excited about that.
Yep, good time. And as Jeanette mentioned in the comments, we also have our noonday Bible study at 12 o'clock on Wednesday. So definitely make sure to come out and, stay connected with us. This is a great way that we can stay connected throughout the week outside of our normal church hours. So can't wait to see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all later, and we'll see you next Monday for another Maximize Monday.
Bye.